All right, it's 4 o'clock on Thursday, October 8th, 2020. We have a quorum, so I'll call this library board meeting to order. First thing I'll make mention of is due to the circumstances of the coronavirus, we were allowed to conduct the meeting by teleconference. We have the majority of the board members in attendance today, but we do have some people dialing in. So we will be abiding by the teleconference portion of the public meeting notice. All right, let's roll. See, the first item is the approval of the agenda, which everyone has in front of them, either on their tablet or in the printout. And I will make a motion to approve the agenda as shown. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any changes, Paulina? Any
Nope.
additions? Okay, not hearing any then. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Any, okay, and then, any negative? Not hearing any, okay, then motion approved. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes, which is, printed out, and hope everyone had a chance to, review them. So I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 10th, 2020 Library Board meeting as shown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a couple of seconds. I have favor, I have approval and a second. Any discussion, corrections?
I'd like to just raise during the discussion of this that I wonder if it wouldn't be prudent for us to identify who are present and who's on the telecall
Okay.
conference, so viewers who are listening or may listen in the future know whose voice that is coming over the telephone.
Okay, we can do that. So, in attendance today, we have everyone, well, do you want me to go through with the names, or do you
I
want me?
think we should identify who's here and who's on the phone.
Okay. All right, well, April, if you want to run through the list of who's here, who's on the phone, and then who is not in attendance.
Sure. Library board members present in person include Vince Borgo, Gabby Budensky, Sue Kimmel, Dave Martinka, Bernice Schmitz, Ruth Ann Webster, and Carl Zeidler. Library board members present via teleconference include Geraldine Schellberg, and then Margaret Blomberg is absent from this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Good point, Carl. In the future, we'll do that at the beginning when we go through the public notice with the teleconference portion of it.
Thank you.
All right, so back to the approval of the minutes. I have a motion and a second. And any other corrections or comments? All right, not hearing none, then all in favor of approving the minutes from the September 10th, 2020 Library Board meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Now we'll get into the financial report. Paulina?
Sure. We are 75.41% through 2020, and our budget is approximately 70.98% expended. The only line item, for the most part, that is a little bit over that 75% is our general supplies, and expenditures this month included purchases of sanitizer and disinfectant spray. But for the most part, we're looking pretty good.
And I know last month we had mentioned maybe getting reimbursed for the additional, I'm not sure how that all
Yes.
works because of the disinfectant. Have you found out any more about that?
Yes, so everything over what we normally purchase, we're coding it towards COVID-19. We have a project line for that, and our emergency management team is working on the reimbursements for that. And then we also have additional CARES funding for some items. But for the most part, our general supplies and cleaning supplies will be coming from FEMA funds.
Okay. Now, does that then get funneled up and run through the city, or is this separate?
It may be separate eventually, but I think it'll be funneled through the city.
Okay.
In terms of budget line items.
All right. Are there any questions for Paulina on the financial report? pretty boring this month, but that's okay. Boring is good.
Yeah,
Boring is
yeah,
good.
it's very good.
All right, hearing none, then we'll move into the librarian's report. We'll start off with the library department activities, reports, and statistics. Paulina?
Sure. Myself, the New Ulm Middle School media specialist and the Traverse des Sioux technology coordinator, we met to discuss our student cart project this month, and we did start this year's partnership with the middle school once again, delivering books to the middle school. We had about, I think, 100 new students who obtained library cards this month. We also, myself, our assistant library director, reference librarian, and our Brown County representative on the Brown County Library Board participated in Traverse des Sioux's systems strategic plan input sessions in September. The strategic plan for Traverse des Sioux is up this year, so they're working on the next 3 years. So that was interesting. Otherwise, everything's going pretty well. We had about 10 appointments fulfilled for the memory lab, and that's getting busier as the weeks go by. For the most part, our VHS tape conversion remains the most popular item for people to use. Contactless is holding pretty steady at around 30. We had actually 33 people pick up holds by contactless pickup this month. And that's about it. I can go into programming, just some highlights of what we have coming up in programming. We continue our virtual story times. It's pre-recorded story times on Mondays and Wednesdays from the Youth Services Department. Some of the other things we have going on are our Teens Talk Books virtual book group. We have a Lego challenge. We'll be doing a virtual Halloween slime tutorials this month. And a pumpkin blank take-home edition. Hy-Vee has generously donated pumpkins to us once again this year. As for adult programming, we have the History Book Club meeting, an author talk with Christopher Schmitz. I think that's supposed to be Red Dragon Gaming, and our Mystery Book Club will be meeting at the end of the month.
All right, I noticed that in the report there, you've indicated there's a second episode of a game demonstration
Yes.
with Cat. So once they record that, where is that found? Is that on the website or where is that?
It will be on the YouTube station,
one?
on the library's YouTube
Okay.
station, and I believe they were working on the music for it, and I think it should be going live within the week.
Because they had one,
Yeah.
a month or so ago too, right? And that one is already out there?
I believe that's the one that will be
Oh,
debuted.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so that one's not,
not up yet to my
okay, and
knowledge.
then
No.
the second one is gonna be a little further behind then.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also you had mentioned that you commencing the partnership with the New Ulm Middle School Library. And what about all the other
Recommencing, yeah.
school libraries and stuff? Is there plans to try and get those started up?
Not at this point. We did last week. Myself and our reference librarian went out to Cathedral. They asked us to come in during one of their periods to sign up students. So they actually had a little bit of a the media specialist there had a drawing for, so kids who came in with library cards could be entered into a drawing, and those who did not have library cards signed up for once. But those were kids who were 16 and 17, so they are able to get library cards on their own without parental signature. So I think we signed up a handful of kids, but we were more excited that a lot already had library cards, which was really great. I believe there's a new media specialist at the high school, so we haven't connected with her yet. I believe the previous one went to a different school here in town, so we haven't connected there yet. But our hope is to either do something like we did at Cathedral, or for the most part, we're just working with the middle school so far on the partnership with the cards out.
And then what about MBL?
We can revisit that. I know at one point I don't think were interested when we last spoke. I think that was about 2.5, 3 years ago, but I can reach out to them again.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm interested in the strategic plan. Can you tell us, obviously it's not developed yet, but can you tell us, what sort of trends you're looking at, where the sort of the pivot points are, or, the overall goals of the meeting that you
Sure.
attended?
So it's actually not New Ulm Public Library Strategic Plan, it's Traverse des Sioux. So they are looking at engagement with member libraries, looking at other libraries that can join the system, how to work together, what the priorities are in terms of communication, engagement, advocacy, that kind of thing, what member libraries want to see. I don't know if April or Carl want to speak to one of the plans. I think I was in with April on the meeting, and Carl, I think, and Lisa were on a different session.
Well, I can just perhaps add on the discussion that I participated in. They talked about certain types of technology that looks like it's going to be adaptable throughout the TDS, and they're right now previewing a new system with the St. Peter's School. So they're trying to adapt new programs and finding sites or environments to try some of these things out. They're also looking at tailoring and customizing their services to the missions of the individual libraries that are within Traverse des Sioux, like the academic libraries and the public libraries and the public school libraries. So they have some different constituencies that they're trying to appeal to through their services. So they're trying to keep that customized and talk about the kinds of goals they want to establish for bringing them on board, the ones that may not be, and holding the ones that we have.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and then you already kind of touched upon the items in the programming. Now for the mystery group, that's going to be in the meeting room, or?
It may potentially be in the meeting room, yes, depending
so
on
that's just-
weather.
okay.
Yeah, so time subject to change too, depending on if it's outside in a park. It's getting later too,
Right,
so it's
yeah.
darker.
I know Leroy had sent emails out asking if, they wanted to have it earlier because of it's getting darker and colder out sooner. But then he also mentioned there was a backup plan potential for using the meeting room, and I just want to make sure that that's been approved and everything then, that they can go ahead and do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Will that continue then after that?
I believe so, yeah, especially after we approve the meeting room policy as well. I kind of take that programming and the rental of the meeting room kind of, especially for adult programming, kind of coherent, if we do one, we have to do the other kind of thing. So,
Basically,
yeah.
what you're saying, once we get into November, we'll probably be using that room.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, as we'll see later, there's some updates to the meeting room policy. There's going to be new notices for new policies, and then there's going to be the new policy during COVID as well. So, but I think this month we're only doing the first reading.
Yes, right, yep.
But yeah, we should be able to have that all approved and ready to roll by the time we start utilizing that room more frequently.
And then if we wanted to go into library reopening, so that kind of goes, like I said, the programming and the meeting room, I think, go hand in hand, especially for the adult programming. We will do a case-by-case basis, too, on presenters and things like that, who feels comfortable doing what. We will not be doing any in-person children's programming, at least through the end of the year. If not, we'll see in the new year. Obviously, it's more difficult to maintain social distancing with children. And speaking of the reopening phasing update, there was one of the librarians within Traverse des Sioux shared a document yesterday morning about a recommendation from the Oregon State Library recommended or put out a recommendation that items do not have to quarantine as much. So they kind of recommended up to 24 hours maximum kind of thing, or just overnight. I did reach out to our Brown County Health Services director, and I shared what I had read, and there's so much conflicting information out there, and they're working with the Minnesota Health Department right now to kind of determine what would be best, especially, if the virus lives on surfaces, things like that. So we will continue to quarantine items for 3 days. I was hoping to maybe reduce that a little bit, but on them working on some kind of recommendation, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we'll continue as we have been.
And then in last month's, when we talked about the reopening, you'd mentioned that you added 5 tables with 1 chair each for basically study tables up in the nonfiction area, and they're being kind of asked to be limited to 1 hour use. Have those been getting used,
A
or?
little bit. Once in a while, I'll see someone coming from upstairs, but for the most part, I think a lot of people are still not really hanging out much. They
Okay.
kind of come in, get their stuff and go out. But I know we did have at least 1 or 2 people who were interested in just the space to study. So I know there's one person for sure who's been utilizing it.
Okay. And then for the utilization of the memory lab, I'm assuming they stay for longer than 30 minutes because a lot of them, they're allowed to.
That's true. Yeah, it's usually an hour or so. Yeah,
Okay.
depending. Like we always mention, it is real time. So however long that VHS is how long, or a cassette tape, that is how long it will take. So we do recommend people, if they have the capability to preview their items at a home if they can, just to determine too what part of something they want to digitize, if they don't want to do the whole thing.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, if it's too unwieldy and long, then yeah, you can't be expecting them to be sit there for hours at a time. So they'll have to break it up. Okay. Any other questions for Paulina on the overall librarians report? Statistic-wise, anything?
No, it's actually looking pretty okay. I mean, our website views actually were a little bit up this month. We were down a little bit last month. Overdrive is maintaining a 300 lead by what we were at last year, but that's pretty steady. Our computer use is definitely down for this time of year. And door count, September was about 200 more than August, but it's pretty, I think, a little bit low than what our norm is right now.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, then we'll move on to the action items. First one being the approving of the library fees and fines schedule. So it's resolution number 2020-17, second reading and adoption of approving the 2021 library fees and fines schedule. The City of New Ulm annually revises its schedule of fees. As part of this, the library is required to update its fees and fines schedule. The library director proposes the attached schedule for 2021 fees and fines. The fees for the audiobooks and CDs to increase from, and that should be 25 cents or $0.25,
Oh,
not
yes.
0.25 cents,
Yes, thank you.
to $1 in line with the DVD sales. These changes proposed by the library board members will be incorporated after today's second reading and adoption. The schedule will then be submitted to the finance department for final approval by the city council. And then the fee schedule was attached, and I didn't see anything that looked unreasonable. So I will entertain a motion to approve the 2021 library fees and fine schedule.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions regarding the fee schedule? All right, and hearing none, then all in favor of approving the 2021 library fees and fines schedule, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, second action item is the approving of closing the library on Saturday, November 28th, Saturday, December 26th, and Saturday, January 2nd. This is resolution number 2020-18, first reading and adoption. The City of New Ulm will close its offices to observe Thanksgiving Day on Thursday, November 26th, and for the first time, city offices will also be closed on Friday, November 27th. The city will close its offices to observe Christmas Day on Friday, December 25th, and New Year's Day on Friday, January 1st, 2021. The library director proposes that the library be closed on Saturday, November 28th, 2020, also Saturday, December 26th, 2020, and Saturday, January 2nd, 2021. The library regularly is open Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, patron Saturday visits have been just over half of the number of Saturday visits during the same period in 2019. Within the Traverse des Sioux area, New Ulm Public Library has the most open hours on a Saturday. Due to the pandemic, many libraries are at reduced Saturday hours or no Saturday hours. Libraries that have not resumed Saturday hours and currently do not plan to do so in November are North Mankato and Sibley County Libraries. Libraries that are closed on Thursday and Friday after the Thanksgiving holiday and open on Saturday and will be open on December 26th are Blue Earth, Waseca, Le Sueur, and Watonwan libraries. Libraries that are closed on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of the Thanksgiving holiday in November and will be closed on December 26th this year because of how the holiday falls is Martin County Libraries.
And also, if I can add, Sibley County Libraries as well.
Okay.
She got back to me.
And that was for the last one, the last bullet point?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Note that the New Ulm Park and Recreation Department intends to be open over the Thanksgiving weekend, December 26th and 27th, and January 2nd and 3rd at their normal hours of Saturday 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The city manager and HR director are fine with the library being closed on these 3 Saturdays and suggested the January 2nd closure due to the New Year's Day being on Friday. So I will entertain a motion to approve the closing of the library on Saturdays, November 28th, 2020, Saturday, December 26th, 2020, and Saturday, January 2nd, 2021.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, got a
Second.
motion. Got it. So I got a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, concerns?
I'd like,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Will there be signage on the library itself for an advance for people who, maybe want to bulk up on reading material for when the library will be closed?
Yes, and it will get more publicity out earlier than normal just because it's a different change and especially how the holiday falls. Yes. We'll do it on Facebook, social media, on the doors. Yeah.
And I know the library periodically, I think it's monthly, publishes stuff in the paper. I mean, they have like little articles in the paper and stuff.
Actually, it's weekly. We
Oh, is it?
rotate through
Okay.
the
So
official.
maybe it could be somehow filtered in there too.
We could add a
by the
blurb.
by,
We could add something to the end, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl?
Paulina,
Yes.
how will this adversely affect part-time and non-salaried employees whose hours will be affected on their compensation for not being open?
We will, for those who would like to, we will offer them hours either during the week, but we're also hoping some would be interested in working the next Monday. We know we'll be more busy on the following Monday, so we can adjust hours and things like that for those who would like to pick those hours up elsewhere.
Have you heard any comments regarding that sort of thing from any staff at this point?
No.
Have you asked the staff?
No, I
about
have
it?
not asked the staff yet. I figured I would ask the board first.
Okay, so if the board gives the approval, then it's, you can do it, but you don't necessarily have to do it.
Right, yeah, but I think the staff would appreciate those days off
Well,
as
then
well.
that was a
Yeah.
follow-up question. You know, based on past experience and based on your knowledge of the staff that you have, have you come to any? Do you have any feeling about whether they'd rather be home with their families or they'd rather have the hours and get paid?
Right, I think they'd rather be home with family.
Okay.
And then with the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, like you said, the visits on Saturdays are just
Right,
way
we're
down,
about, like
so-
I said, about half, and I did run the numbers. Like the last, both August and September, we're running at about 100, and it's like 110. But April and I discussed it. We don't actually know how many of that is staffed to some days. So that does affect it because it does count us as well.
Okay. Dave, did you have something?
Ask a question on that part too, and I'm glad you answered that. So I take it means people coming in to use computers, checking out books, using anything inside, you're down roughly half across the board now.
Yeah, in terms of visits, yes.
Was there much thought ever of closing on Saturday?
No, I think we still see a relatively decent amount for the most part, but I think we still do have people who utilize our services, especially I think we're one of the only places that is open to the public right now in terms of internet access, like MLC's college libraries not open to the public right now. Usually they are, and they have more extended hours. They're just not letting any public in.
Are the hours on Saturday full now?
Yes, they are. They've been full since July, I believe, yeah.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, then hearing none, then all in favor of the library closing on the Saturdays mentioned in the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. And then you can give us feedback from, you know, when you meet with the employees and see what their feeling is. All right, the next resolution is the authorizing the city manager to sign the building share agreement with NewCat. This is resolution number 2020-19, first reading and adoption. It's authorizing the city manager to sign the lease agreement with New Ulm Community Access Television, or NewCat. On June 12th, 2008, the New Ulm Public Library Board adopted a proposal for redesign and use of library basement storage area as a community cable access office, CCAO. The agreement was in the term of 3 years, with an additional 3 years at the option of New Ulm Community Access Television, NewCat. Further extensions must be approved by the New Ulm Public Library Board. At the May 14th, 2020 Library Board meeting, the Library Board authorized the city attorney to prepare an extension of the building sharing agreement with NewCat. The building sharing agreement with New Ulm Community Access Television includes the current annual rate for space of $6.25 per square foot, plus 1.7% of the library's annual budgeted amount for utilities. Either party may terminate the agreement with a 120-day written notice. What follows is a lease agreement prepared by the city attorney. If approved, it would commence January 1st, 2021. It is acceptable to the NewCat coordinator and the library director. If approved by the library board, the NewCat coordinator would present it to the Cable Commission in late November 2020. So then there's the lease agreement is there. It's included with it, but it's pretty lengthy. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to waive reading. But there is a number, there is one section, I don't know if in the printouts it shows it, but it looks like the additions are in red font.
Yep,
And
and
there's-
so there's 7 to 14. You know, those don't have the red font on them.
Right,
Well, I think the technical legal term for
Yeah.
all this stuff is blah, blah, blah.
yeah, exactly. So, so now were these additions, so this is the first reading and adoption? And so the additions are including, a section on no joint enterprise, severability, no oral modification, no assignment, entire agreement, venue, and indemnity. And again, as Ruth Ann pointed out, it's a lot of legal
Right.
verbiage, but I'm relying that if the city attorney,
I think the most important one is the indemnification, that they're in charge of things. If something
Right.
goes wrong,
yep,
they'll take
yeah,
care
they're
of it.
not gonna, right, and they're,
Ruth Ann, say that again? I couldn't hear you out there.
Oh, there's the last clause is the indemnification clause, where the NewCat agrees to defend and indemnify and hold harmless the city and everybody involved with the city if anything goes wrong there, for any claims and demands or, that sort of thing. So,
it's, overall, it's your typical boilerplate type
yes.
agreement. And then if the city attorney is, was prepared by them, so we're thinking that, I'm trusting on them that they've got everything covered. And, this type of agreement has been going on for a while now, since,
Oh, wait.
yeah. So I don't think it's anything radically different from what's been going on in the past. I think the rates are still very reasonable, and it's a symbiotic relationship with NewCat helping out where they can, when they can, and vice versa.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful for the community, as a person, League of Women Voters, to be able to go to the library and film things is just wonderful. It's wonderful.
And it's a great partnership for us as well. They're always willing to film stuff for us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then I will entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the lease agreement with New Ulm Community Access Television, or NewCat.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I have a quick,
Do we
Yep.
renew the lease?
Every 3 years.
I was just thinking, is it necessary to renew it every 3 years?
I think that's how it was set up. I mean, we could take a look at it next time as well.
Carl?
my question would be this. NewCat is down adjacent to their offices are, and their activities are adjacent to and sometimes incorporate the space of the meeting room. How does the meeting room policy interact with the lease agreement that we have set up with NewCat, and what responsibilities do they have to enforce the restrictions or the stipulations that appear in the meeting room policy?
I mean, the NewCat is also one of the departments within the city, so whatever that they follow city policy as well. But I will give a copy to NewCat of our meeting room policy. For the most part, they usually reserve Mondays for filming, and I think whatever comfort level within filming, they leave it up to different hosts and things like that. But I will, like I said, give them a copy of the meeting room policy.
Well, would the people who are participating in this have to abide by
Right, they would, yes,
what appears in the agreement of meeting room?
yes.
So in other words, what I hear you saying is that when NewCat does their filming, they are in essence a user of the meeting room.
right.
And whatever we decide on the
Meeting room policy.
update of the meeting room policy, they would be included, and we'll have to make sure that
Right.
they understand that.
Yeah.
And then, does that answer your question, Carl?
Well, yeah, I think we just need to ensure that, regardless of who they have down there, that they all understand that there are some stipulations, and
Right.
Right.
conditions they have to meet,
Yep.
regardless of what they're doing.
Right. That's a good point. So, yeah, we'll have to make sure that there is proper overlap of the meeting room policy with this lease agreement. But then that brings up another question of when other people or departments reserve the meeting room, you know, what is the, in NewCat, people are working it with NewCat. We want to make sure there's no interference too between, you know, if they're down there working at the time there's a meeting, that they're not interfering with the meeting going on, the meeting's not interfering with their.
Right. They usually book a spot with us upstairs to let us know when. They check with us to see when an
Okay.
opening is. Yeah, for the on the calendar. So they work with us in terms of calendar bookings.
Well, I don't mean that, but I mean if, like, say,
Oh, if someone's-
the mystery group is
oh,
down there and
if
we don't
someone's
want them
too-
making a racket while we're trying to have a
Right.
meeting.
They're usually pretty quiet, I think, in the
Okay.
office. Yeah.
Well, and I think this, the areas are rather distinct. You know,
Right, they are,
there's
but-
pretty demarcated. But yes, if Mystery Book Club is laughing loudly,
Yeah.
Right, we
That's
shouldn't be
true.
disturbing them,
Bothering
or
them, right.
vice versa, if
Or
they're
vice
making a
versa,
racket in there
right.
with,
They do close their doors if we get too loud a lot.
all right. And like I said, this has been going on for a while, so any of these kind of issues should have probably been hammered out long ago anyways.
The
So-
bulk of their office hours are during the day too,
Okay,
and most of our programming in the meeting room tends to be in the evening.
that's another good point, okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? All right, not hearing any then all in favor of authorizing the city manager to sign the lease agreement with NewCat, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carried. And now the last item is the approving the update to the meeting room policy, and this is just the first reading. It's the resolution number 2020-20. A lot of 20s in that. Approving the update of the meeting room policy. The meeting room policy was last amended in April 2014. The policy changes include a contract format to be read and signed by the lessee of the meeting space. Attached are 2 copies of the policy, the regular meeting space rental agreement and then the meeting space rental agreement and notice of responsibility during COVID-19. These changes are recommended by the library director and are currently under review by the city attorney. Any changes recommended by the city attorney will be presented to the library board, and I'm assuming this, are these gonna be posted then out for
Yes.
any kind of regular feedback as well?
Yep, and the recommendations, the additions from the city attorney are it's the 4th item in 6.4, the new notice of responsibility meeting room space during COVID-19 add-ons. For those of you with no read copies, it's the third paragraph after COVID-19. There's 8 paragraphs that the city attorney recommended us adding to the contract. And like mentioned in the resolution, what we had in the policy is within this agreement. So we never really presented the meeting room policy to any of our lessees. This enables them to read it and sign off on it, making sure they have read it to adhere to what we are requesting of them. I did not put, the city attorney did say the size of any gathering by lessee or its attendees may not exceed 25% of occupancy with a maximum of blank, and our maximum right now is 40 people in the meeting room. Our capacity down in the meeting room is 160 in a regular time.
And also included with this was the current meeting room policy and the meeting room reservations form.
Yes.
But with the new policies, the reservations form is actually part of the policy itself.
Yeah.
So you get the whole kit and caboodle when you want to
Altogether,
rent
yeah.
or use the room. And so you gotta kind of read through and abide by it, and then fill out the information in the form part of it at the end.
Question, will there, when the COVID thing dying away if it ever does? I take it you'll bring it back to the board then to remove those items?
No, there's two. There's the notice of responsibility, just the meeting space in here, and then notice of responsibility meeting space during COVID-19. So it's the same agreement, but without that COVID verbiage.
Oh, I understand that, but I
Yeah.
mean, when do you drop the COVID cut off?
We'll just
Well,
drop the meeting notice with the COVID. We'll just take that one out of
Yeah.
play, and the other one
Right.
will default to be the only one. Because there's two of them in here. There's one just for the meeting space.
I understand that, but
Okay.
when, so when, you're not gonna bring it back before the board then, when you decide the COVID thing is gone?
Right.
Right. There may be just some notification, but I don't think we have to vote on it or anything like that. One of the things that's pointed out too is for the priority usage, the meetings of the New Ulm City Council, meetings of commissions and committees of the city and city staff and training meetings will have first priority for the facility, and no charge will be made for such use.
And that's always been in our
Right.
policy. Yep.
But just wanted to, like you had mentioned that, NewCat does their thing, and then we also now are looking at using the meeting rooms for the library functions, book groups, so they would get some prioritization, and then no charges would be associated with that. All right, so that'll be posted, and we'll review it, I'm assuming, again next month.
Yes.
And hopefully all the updates from the city manager and city attorney will be in there.
They are in there. That's that.
Oh,
Rich,
okay.
That's all him. Yep.
Okay. Any other business?
Nope.
Anyone else?
Questions?
All right, then we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.